guys, welcome back to St. Mojo Homestead. It is the best weekend of the year because it's the weekend after Thanksgiving and the weekend of one of the biggest games for our team, Clemson. In this video, we just decided that we would talk about what community is to us and why it's important. And so just wanted to talk a little bit about that, share it with you guys. But first, highs and lows.
Highs and lows.
You go first.
So, my high was probably Thanksgiving. Just, a relaxed day, hanging out with family, a little low-key. Didn't have to take care of animals because we were gone for the day. Just a nice little break. My other high, honestly, though, was coming home. I just love being here.
Yeah.
So, that was awesome. And that's not just, I'm not just saying it. I loved coming home. My low, I don't really have a low. It's been a pretty good week.
It's good. I mean, it's Thanksgiving week, so
right. What could be low about that?
Well, I don't really have a low either, so that means 0 lows for this week.
Awesome.
My highs, and yes, it's plural because there are a lot of highs. Short work week for one. That was a good thing. Just to have extra time with the family and stuff like that. And so Thanksgiving, obviously, spending time with, extended family and everything. We also are kid-free this weekend, which is, it's a high, but it's also a low because I am starting to miss them, ready to get them home.
I am too.
And all that. So we cut a Christmas tree. It's just been a good, busy, but not, stressful, busy kind of week for us.
Yeah.
So yesterday, the game was amazing.
Yes.
So we got to win.
Pretty solid win.
Again. Sorry, Carolina friends. If you're local to South Carolina, you know exactly what game we're referring to and why it's a big deal. If you're not, I graduated from Clemson and we had our big rivalry game with that other school in the state that we have to share it with. But yeah, it was a good weekend. We also had Jesse Bickley with The Farther You Go come and do a farm tour out here. And so that was really fun. It's kind of a little bit of what sparked today's video about community.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
But that's going to be coming out soon. This video will go up before he actually gets that one out.
Yeah.
But we will definitely keep you guys posted on that. And he's doing a whole series. He's traveling around South Carolina and doing different tours and stuff of different homesteads and looking at just how people do it and what they're doing. And so it's really neat. I really encourage you guys, if you're watching this video, go find him and look up those. He's done one so far with Dean family up in the upstate. And then I think we were the second one, but he's got several more that he's going to go around and do. I will leave a link to his channel in our description below. But before we get into community, why don't we give a couple of updates on what's kind of been going on with the garden and our animals.
We have several cabbages that are just beautiful. They're heading up really nice. Our onions are doing really, really well.
Yeah, they're coming
A lot of them have come up. And we have broccoli in our garden, and it's beautiful.
That's one thing we're really excited about. Yeah. We've tried it in the past and never really we've gotten super tiny flowers that then start to flower before they even do anything.
Right.
So.
Right, and I love broccoli is one of those things I would love to have access to all year. I would love for us to be able to grow enough, down the road. We didn't plan for that this year.
No, I think we have I think we're just shy of 30 plants.
Yeah, that's not nearly enough.
No.
I love broccoli. And I love it in pasta dishes and stuff. I would just like to have frozen broccoli on hand. We have some okra pods that are drying.
Yep.
So we have some seed saving that we're preparing for. But we're kind of dabbling in the seed saving. It's not something that we're really well versed in, but it's something I would definitely like to do more.
If you're a YouTuber and you've done something on that, definitely feel free to put that in the comments because we are. That's one thing, like she said, kind of testing it out. Would love to get more information from you guys, firsthand information.
So our cold frames are doing really well. We have lots of carrots and rutabaga, and everything's really doing great there. And I have squash in my greenhouse. So
yes, exciting.
Yeah.
Our rabbits had bunnies. Well, our rabbit had bunnies. Those are we're putting them up for sale. If you've missed that in other videos this year, we're going to just try selling them off. Any of them that don't sell, then, we'll keep them for freezer camp.
Yep.
The chicks are getting really big.
Yeah.
It looks like all of our chicks this year are going to be hens, which is
Yay!
really good.
I'm so
Because,
excited.
yeah, if we had a rooster, we already have a rooster. So that means we just slaughter roosters now. But we don't have to do that because we have all hens. So
Yes.
that's good.
Yep.
That's
So
really
let's
good.
talk a little bit about community and kind of what we feel community is. So Jeremy is going to share a little bit about that, and then we'll go from there.
Community to us is really just when I think community, I think of a group of people that have a common goal in mind and acknowledge the fact that it can't be done alone, but has to be done like corporately or together. Takes people working together to accomplish a common goal, I guess. And so, obviously there's some geographic things that happen in there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to be like together. Whereas like community really used to be looked at as like, well, you lived in a community, like your town was your community. Well, it doesn't really exist as far as I am aware of today. And so I think that just really pushes the importance and the necessity of creating community elsewhere, and almost like not redefining it, but re-looking at where is your community, because I think everybody needs it. It's important,
Oh, yeah.
So that being said, kind of what I see community as is a group of people where each person is bringing something to the table, whether that be knowledge, whether it be help, whether it be resources, whatever it may be, and where you can go to find encouragement and really find support for what you're doing. Oftentimes it is like-minded people. I personally don't believe it always has to be like-minded people, as long as everyone is in agreement to work towards one goal. And so you've got community in churches and, community within like friend groups or civic groups or anything like that. You've got community within, with the whole topic of sports this weekend, within sporting groups and fans, they make up a community of sorts.
Yeah.
And so just that. And obviously, like with us homesteading, we're kind of thinking in this video more like homesteading community. Just what does that look like to us? Because, Cass will probably share a little bit later, but we did kind of start to get to this point of, and I don't know that I would say we're completely out of it, but feeling a little bit alone.
Yeah.
In what we're doing out here. And that doesn't mean that like we didn't feel like we had support from anybody, but just people that had that like-mindedness and that kind of goal in life to be more self-sustainable. It wasn't really there. And I actually did a video a little bit while back. I will probably link it at the end of this video if you want to go back and look at that, where we were talking about that. And I actually hinted at, I felt like there was something kind of in the works that may be kind of able to push us or pull us out of that. And I'm starting to see that, and that's really exciting. Not to the point where I'm willing to completely share all of that yet, but just with like Jesse coming and really sharing his heart and finding that we really have that same desire of wanting to create community among homesteaders really in this area, but also just kind of within South Carolina, because all of us have our own strengths, and that's where community strength is. So whether that be like knowledge or resources or whatever that may be, like that's really where the strength lies, because you're drawing off of everyone else's strength.
Yeah. So community, I think, is really important because, like you were saying, everyone has something different and unique to bring to the table. And we know things that could be beneficial to someone, and someone else has knowledge that could be beneficial for us. And there's just life experiences that we haven't had that someone else has had that we could learn from.
Yeah.
And the support system that comes within community, I think, is so valuable, to feel like you're encouraged and supported in whatever you're doing. It makes it easier, I think. Having people behind you, rallying behind you and telling you can do this even when things get tough, or mentoring you. Like, there is no way we could have done what we've done without mentors, without someone to come alongside us and say, hey, like, it's okay. You're not ruining your lives. Whatever, like.
Well, I mean, prime example is the goats. I don't feel like we would have stuck with the goats if we didn't have the mentor that we had.
No, like, honestly, like with the coccidia, with losing some babies, without someone to come alongside us and say, it's part of learning. It's part of the learning process. It happened to them. It's unfortunate and it's sad, but if you can stick through it, you'll figure it out. You'll figure out the signs. You'll figure out how to deal with it, and you won't have that issue anymore. If we didn't have people that came alongside us and told us that, I wouldn't want to risk it anymore. I wouldn't want to have baby goats and risk watching them get sick and die. It's obviously not an experience I want to experience every year. Also, just having someone like that I can contact when things aren't going well in the milk house or, anything. I just don't think that you can do it well without a mentor. When we started keeping bees, the first thing they told us was find a bee mentor.
Yeah.
And we did. And there were things that we did not know how to deal with, and they were willing and able to come over and help us. So I think in anything you do, having someone that can mentor you and that you can mentor is really important, because it helps us all accomplish the goals that we have for ourselves.
Yeah.
The other, I think, really neat thing about community is that you can share your resources. Like, we don't hunt. So, like, we're not hunters. We cannot go get a deer, but we love deer meat.
Yeah.
And so we might have something on our homestead that someone else doesn't have, or just a knowledge in something, and we can help kind of teach someone in exchange for like deer meat or whatever. It actually reminds me of when we had Selah and Mariah, and we were kind of figuring out where we were supposed to be and didn't really have a great job and weren't making a ton of money. And I really wanted just a backyard slide, and I didn't tell anyone. This was a thought I had in passing, but someone in our community, in our church community, knew I had kids and came and brought us a truckload of outdoor toys and a slide and stuff. So again, it's just seeing the resources that you have excess of or you don't need, and sharing them with those that you think could use it.
Yeah.
So.
And I really think like the perfect example of this that most of us would be semi-familiar with in our history classes is like the Native Americans. Like they are ones that had community down.
Yeah.
Basically like the village existed for each individual, and each individual was expected to do their part and bring the, whatever their strengths were to the table just for pure survival.
Yeah.
And I mean, thankfully we're not there, and I hope that we never get there, but that was a just perfect example of why community is important and what community can look like and can be. I mean, I would just encourage you guys, if you feel like you're not in community, to get into community.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you like find a community and then you like insert yourself in. Like like we're in the process of learning how to build community with just I mean, like what you were saying with the homesteading stuff, and just really it's about being intentional.
Yes, that's exactly what I was just thinking.
Yeah. Being intentional about identifying the people that you are similar with, like-minded and kind of same maybe life goals or heading in the same direction, and being intentional about building around that, bringing in people and
cultivating relationship.
There we go. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, it is. But yes, cultivating that relationship, because it is all about relationship. I'm glad you mentioned that, because there was a point that I wanted to make. I do think friendship and community, while there's a ton of overlap, can exist separately.
Oh, yeah.
Community is not friendship, if that makes sense. It's not that, for me personally, I do not believe that everyone in, we'll say, your community has to be like someone that you would just choose to go hang out with any day of the week. It's
Yeah.
really about the selflessness and being willing to help someone else.
Yeah. Like our B mentor was not our best friend,
Right.
but he was definitely in our community,
Wasn't anything wrong with them.
No.
Totally
he's
different
just
stages of
day
life and
life,
everything
yeah,
else. But yeah, and that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're gonna have like your best friends that just don't quite fit into your main community.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean you have to like kick them out or not be friends with them anymore, by any means. So I did want to make that point. Like there can be, that can differ, and that's okay.
Yeah. Often it overlaps, but I think
Yes.
that there are times when it doesn't.
Right. And we're oftentimes in several different communities.
Right.
This isn't confined to like, you got to have one community.
Right.
Like you can have a foot in this community and a foot in this community,
Yeah.
and that's fine. And that's what ultimately starts to make up the bigger picture of it all. But we're not going to really get into that today.
No.
So
No, that's a whole nother day.
I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah.
So for any of you who are local South Carolinians, you may have caught some of them, but we put 7 little references to a sweet victory that happened last night through this video. And so if you didn't catch them, have fun. Go back, rewatch it, see if you can catch them all. Because it was just kind of for fun. For anybody who's not, you're probably not going to catch it unless you're a huge sports fan.
So, thanks for hanging out with us and talking community with us. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, have a great week and be blessed.